Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to welcome you all today as we explore an intriguing topic in the world of literary studies. Today's presentation is centered around Peter Stockwell's Cognitive Poetics, an introduction. I'm Dr. M.F. Ann Farrell, an assistant professor of English at Holy Cross College in Nadgercoil. Over the next few minutes, we'll delve into the key concepts of cognitive poetics, discuss its significance, and see how it helps us understand literature in a new way. Let's get started. Let's dive into what we mean by defining cognitive poetics. Essentially, cognitive poetics is a fascinating field that merges literary criticism with cognitive linguistics. It's about understanding how we, as readers, make sense of the texts we encounter. When we read, it's not just a passive activity, it's a cognitive act. It involves perception as we interpret words and images, memory as we connect new information with what we already know, and imagination as we visualize scenes and emotions. This approach helps us see how our minds engage with literature on a deeper level, revealing the mental processes behind our reading experience. By exploring these connections, cognitive poetics offers a richer understanding of how literature affects us and how we, in turn, interpret it. This ties directly into the broader theme of how language and cognition shape our engagement with texts. Today, I want to talk about the aims and scope of this presentation. First, we'll explore how readers actually form mental representations of literary worlds. This is about understanding the mental images and ideas that we create when we engage with a story. Next, we'll examine how language in literature can evoke emotions and vivid images, making the experience more immersive and personal. Finally, we'll see how this approach complements traditional criticism by adding scientific insights, helping us understand literature not just from an interpretive perspective, but also from a cognitive and emotional one. Throughout this presentation, our goal is to bridge the gap between literary analysis and scientific understanding, offering a richer view of how we connect with stories. Let's explore the relationship between the reader, the text, and the mind. The key idea here is that meaning doesn't just exist within the words on the page. It actually arises through the reader's engagement with the text. When we read, our minds are actively involved, constructing mental images based on the words and linking those images to our own experiences. This process makes the reading experience highly personal and dynamic. It's also important to recognize that many literary effects, like mood, tone, or symbolism, result from shared cognitive processes. In other words, different readers can experience similar effects because their brains are engaging with the text in comparable ways. So, understanding these mental and cognitive connections helps us see how literature communicates and creates its impact. All of this ties back to the overall theme. Literature is a collaborative act between the writer's words, the reader's mind, and the shared mental images we create. Let's take a closer look at the roots of cognitive linguistics, which draws heavily on the work of Lakoff, Johnson, and Langacker. These scholars have laid the foundation for understanding how language connects with our thought processes. One of the core ideas is the concept of metaphor, specifically what we call conceptual metaphor. This idea suggests that much of our understanding is structured through metaphorical thinking. So, for example, we often understand abstract concepts like time or emotion through more concrete experiences like space or physical sensations. Another key point is embodiment. This emphasizes that our cognition is deeply rooted in our physical bodies and sensory experiences. Our bodily interactions shape how we think, and language develops from these embodied experiences. Then there's schema theory, which refers to the mental structures, schemas, that help us organize and interpret information efficiently. These schemas are like mental frameworks that guide our understanding of the world and are constantly influencing how we interpret language and experience. Now, connecting this to our broader theme, literary language extends and enriches our everyday cognition. It takes these fundamental cognitive patterns and stretches them, allowing us to explore complex ideas, emotions, and worlds through language. So, understanding these roots helps us see how literature not only reflects our thinking, but also expands it. Let's take a moment to explore how this theory relates to others in the field. Unlike some approaches that focus solely on the text itself or only on the reader's experience, this perspective moves beyond those boundaries. It's about understanding that meaning isn't just in the words or in the reader's mind alone. Instead, it involves a dynamic negotiation between the two. This approach also differs from formalism, which tends to analyze the internal structure of texts, and from deconstruction, which questions the stability of meaning. Here, we see that meaning isn't fixed or entirely unstable. Rather, it's something that is actively negotiated in the interaction between the text and the reader. Overall, this highlights that meaning is fluid and shaped through engagement, which ties into our broader theme of understanding literature as a living, interactive process, rather than something static or predetermined. Let's take a closer look at what we mean by cognitive poetics as a method. Essentially, it offers us a set of analytical tools that help us understand how texts work on a deeper level. For example, schema theory allows us to see how readers bring their background knowledge to interpret a story or poem. Deixis helps us analyze references like this, that, or here, which depend on context, and text world theory gives us a way to explore the imaginary worlds created within a text. These tools are especially useful because they help explain not just the stylistic choices an author makes, but also the emotional responses that those choices evoke in us as readers. So, it's a way to connect the dots between language, style, and feeling. And an important point to remember is that cognitive poetics isn't a rigid system. It's a flexible toolkit that we can adapt depending on the text or the context we're studying. So, it encourages us to be creative and responsive, rather than sticking to a fixed set of rules. Overall, this approach enriches our understanding of literature by blending psychological insights with stylistic analysis, making it a powerful method for exploring the layers of meaning in texts. Let's explore the idea that reading is more than just a skill. It's a human activity that extends our everyday thought processes. When we read, we're not just consuming information, we're actively engaging with ideas and perspectives that influence how we think daily life. Now, consider the role of literary imagination. It relies on universal cognitive skills, things like empathy, pattern recognition, and memory, that we all share. These skills allow us to connect deeply with stories and characters, even when they are far removed from our personal experience. This connection is crucial because it acts as a bridge between ordinary language, what we use in daily conversation, and literary language, which often employs richer, more nuanced expression. Through reading, we learn to navigate this shift, enriching our understanding and appreciation of language itself. Overall, this highlights how reading isn't just about words on a page. It's a vital human activity that enhances our thought processes and bridges different modes of language, ultimately expanding our cognitive and emotional horizons. Now, let's explore the interdisciplinary nature of cognitive poetics. It really brings together fields like linguistics, psychology, philosophy, and literature, creating a rich, interconnected approach. This blend helps us move beyond traditional criticism, aiming for a more practical and evidence-based understanding of texts. The promise of cognitive poetics lies in its ability to connect our minds with literature, showing how the style of a piece can shape meaning and evoke emotions. It's not just about analyzing structure or language in isolation, but understanding how readers experience and interpret texts. Ultimately, the goal is to develop a coherent, reader-centered model of interpretation. This approach emphasizes the importance of the reader's perspective and cognitive processes, making our analysis more nuanced and aligned with how we actually engage with literature in real life. This interconnected, practical focus is what makes cognitive poetics such an exciting and promising field. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide.